this bird out. Alrighty, so finally I'm going to be taking a look at the fish pool. The fishing table. You know, the ones you get with the fishing rods in Pokemon Red and Blue. A mechanic that I barely ever interacted with when I was younger, when I would play these games. The only time I would ever do fishing is when I'm completing the Pokédex. It was always the dead last thing that I would do. So I was thinking, well, fuck, let's do a fishing Pokemon this time. And based on the title and potentially even the other tertiary information on the video that you've just clicked on, you probably know that I ended up with Krabby and Kingler. By the way, fighting Brock with Squirtle. Whoa, gym leader battle. I'm getting pretty decent at doing the early game here with Squirtle, so I'm probably going to be sticking to Squirtle for the most part, at least in the foreseeable future when it comes to these runs. And what are these runs? Well, here's my list of rules. This is an alternative main glitchless classic speedrun of Pokemon Red and Blue. In glitchless speedruns, they use the Pokemon Nidoking, so that is the main Pokemon that they use. So alternative main just means anything but Nidoking. And so this is so far either my 7th or my 8th, I don't know, run of this. And so basically this is on a real cartridge, and no Game Shark codes, no ROM hacks, nothing like that. You play the game, you get the least number of badges possible, the least number of major fights possible. So I would personally add in there like the rival fight, that kind of stuff. And speaking of which, here's a rival fight, still with Wartortle here. So you do the least number of major fights possible, and then you get the Pokemon as soon as you can, and then you try to level that motherfucker up as quick as possible, and then run through the rest of the game with it. And so in this one I use Krabby. Some other rules that I do are I make these single segment, which means no saving and loading. Even, you know, so I can't save against a fight and then just brute force it like with the Elite Four or anything. So I have to do everything in a single segment. What that means, the benefit of that is I get to keep my experience, but the downside of that is it can lose a lot of time. And of course I'm also doing the speedrun style, so that means I'm using a timer. And I'm fighting Misty here, by the way, but Misty is I don't know, you just use Tackle, you just win the game with potions, it's no big deal. And that's another thing about these runs, is I do use items. Any item in the game is on the table. Maybe at some point in the future I will do an itemless run, something like that could be interesting, besides key items, I suppose. But for right now, items are on the table. Get that rare candy, speaking of items, and then I'm going to try this guy again with a couple extra levels. And so, now, you know, with these runs, I like to spend, like, the early part kind of talking about every part that I fuck up on, because as I am playing these, again, this is my 7th, maybe 8th run, I am learning how to speedrun Pokemon Red and Blue, and I'm doing it in a way that maybe is unconventional, I'm not sure. If I look at the speedrun category leaderboards on speedrun.com, a website that I'm not super a fan of, you know, it's just Ad City over there. It's like fucking fandom. It's just what a goddamn, what a terrible website, man. The day that fucking PAC sold that site to a shitfuck corporation. But anyway, that's a separate story. But if I look at the speedrun.com leaderboards, there's not very many runs for the alt main categories. There's a lot more for custom starter, which is probably a lot easier. You don't have to worry about routing in where to catch the wild Pokemon, which, by the way, I'm catching some wild Pokemon here. I want to catch a Pokemon that can learn Fly and a Pokemon that can learn Cut. So I do need those. One other challenge, like kind of pseudo challenge that I do is I want to do minimum Pokemon. But like it's not like a hardcore rule. So like, you know, there are ways you can go, like, you know, you'd have to pick Bulbasaur to learn Cut, for example, but instead I just capture an Oddish here. So, you know, I'm not trying to go super hard about that, but I'm not going to catch a party of 6. You know, I just want to use HM slaves, and then sometimes I'll swap them in and out to use revives or to debuff on status stuff like that in battles. Speaking of battles, here's a rival fight. And so again, I'm learning this game as I go along. I'm still learning the best way to do it. The last time I even watched a Pokemon speedrun was in like maybe 2013 or 14. I never really paid attention to the Pokemon speedrun scene other than like just getting whatever I got through osmosis, just being a speedrunner. So I kind of know a little bit, but I really don't. I kind of more so am doing these runs with the base of knowledge of just having played the fuck out of these games when I was young. And sometimes I'll look up stuff like a map, you know, of Rock Tunnel, for example. You know, I'll look up a map of Rock Tunnel. Speaking of which, we're in Rock Tunnel. And Rock Tunnel, I've been having a lot of problems with. I can never, ever, ever get through this motherfucker without dying at least once. It just doesn't happen. I don't know why. Maybe I need to spend more money on, like, full heals. You know, spending money on a full heal, it feels insulting, but I think I might need to, because these poisons, ugh. Something like that, or just like a load of fucking potions, but I always make it to, like, the last guy, and, end up losing. This time, however, I think actually maybe I lost in I don't know, actually that looked pretty clean, I don't know. I don't remember. When I do these runs sometimes, you know, Pokemon, it's super easy to play. You kind of get a basic route, you write it ahead of time, and then I like to consume ethanol, tetrahydrocannabinol, and the works. So I probably didn't even realize that was a first try, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe I lost halfway and didn't even realize it while doing this commentary now. But other things I didn't realize are how fun the Rocket Hideout is. I really like the song here. It's a really good song. I've been doing, you know, when I edit the videos, I like to put in the music in there. And, you know, usually you don't get to hear the songs that much because you're fighting trainers, so it resets all the time. But I do really enjoy the Rocket Hideout music. It's pretty good. But that's Giovanni. That's the Rocket Hideout. I've been trying to implement using the escape rope in a lot of these instances to save time. That's another thing that I've been trying to route in. Again, I'm trying to learn these games as I go. And it's like, I could just sit here and do 8 runs with Nidoking, but that doesn't sound fun to me. And so, after the Poke Flute, which we're about to get, that's when the whole map kind of basically becomes accessible, meaning I can get the Super Rod, and right next to the Super Rod guy's house, you can get a Krabby in the water. So, that's going to be, like, so again, this is, you know, you want to get your new main as soon as possible. Just so happens, you know, the major blocks here in this game are, like, Misty's Gym, because you need Cut, and then also, the Poke Flute, which just opens up, you know, 90% of the map. And then also, you know, Surf to get to the Cinnabar guys. But, you know, I haven't done any runs to try to get Surf as soon as possible. Doing Koga that early does seem like it could pose some problems, so I might try that at some point. But here's Snorlax. I guess you can run away from Snorlax. I like battling the Snorlax. I don't know. I treat Snorlax with respect when I play these games. So anyway, here's the Super Rod. Alright, Tentacool. You know, that's the thing about fishing is, again, it's a mechanic I barely ever interacted with, and, you know, I immediately remembered why, because it's just, you click on it, and then, I don't even know, do you have to press the A button, and then you get a fucking level 5 Tentacool? You know, like, what the fuck are we doing here? Not even a nibble, you gotta try again. Alright, it's Bite, what do we got? Krabby, yay! Level 15, by the way. And so this is where we get into this awkward zone. By the way, there's Krabby. Welcome to the team, the K-Man. You know, well, you know, I don't know any K-Mans. I do not have any numbers that would correspond to any K-Men to where I get anything like that. But anyway, so once you get the main Pokemon, typically in these runs, again, this is only my 7th or 8th. I'm at the point now where I'm losing track, which is good. Consult the chart, actually. I got a chart. Where's the chart? There it is. All right, there's the chart. Consult the chart. You know, so I guess it was number 7. And so, you know, the biggest problem with these runs are the fact that when you get the new main Pokemon, your starter will probably be way over leveled, right? So then there's that weird in-between zone where it's like you want to swap train your new main, but like, you know, Blastoise is already level 40. I mean, like a level 40 Blastoise, like, you know, depending on the moveset, a level 40 Blastoise might be even able to beat the game, you know, without even any further levels, right? So it's like, we're in this weird zone where it's like, I kind of feel cheap for swap training in with my level 30-something starter. So in this instance, I opted to box the starter. It just felt a little bit too cheap. This is not like an official rule on the speedrun boards. I believe all the alt main speedruns, they just swap train until the other one takes over. But for me, I don't know, it feels a little dirty, it feels a little grimy. I haven't really decided how I feel about that yet. So in this run, I definitely lost like 20 or 30 minutes just because I boxed my starter. But the thing about Krabby, so I guess we'll start talking about Krabby's moveset, Krabby's stats. Krabby was a surprising Pokemon because it's a water-type Pokemon that only learns like a couple water moves, including Crab Hammer, by the way, which is, you know, it's got its own thing, so that's cool. But its special stat fucking sucks. Its special stat sucks fucking cock in hell, just like with your mother. And it's just like, you know, so I end up in a situation where the only water move I use is Surf, and I end up teaching it Body Slam for the physical stat, and I end up teaching it Ice Beam, because I feel like, you know, Ice Beam, it's got that chance to freeze, so it's like, yeah, you know, it's alright, but it doesn't have the same type attack boost. So, I don't know, this moveset, I didn't really know what I was doing for the most part, but I didn't end up using Ice Beam. And then around this point in Sylph Corporation is when I get the other TM for Swords Dance. And Swords Dance, if you don't know, Swords Dance is probably the best move in Pokemon Red and Blue, other than maybe Double Team. Double Team is also insane in these games. And it's for, you know, like, they increase your stats, but then there's also another glitch in this game, and, you know, this is a glitchless speedrun, but hey, it's less of a glitch and more just, like, baked into, like, just the gameplay. It's almost impossible to avoid it, but it's so in these games, when you get badges, you get stat boosts that apply, like, globally every time your Pokemon are in battle. I try to do Koga. I don't really know what to do next here, so I rare candy this guy up to Kingler, try the Erica gym again. It's kind of all over the place. I don't really know what I'm doing at this. I get fucking pwned here. You know, again, that awkward in-between zone when your main is, like, super under-leveled and it's like you're really trying to do this stuff and you end up taking forever. Whatever, man. But because, back to Swords Dance takes advantage of the badge boosting mechanic. And basically, every time you use any move that alters your stats, it will, like, re-roll the badge boosting. I don't exactly know the formula. I haven't looked up the formula. All I know is that it's a thing that you can do. And so, like, for example, once you get Koga's badge, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's speed on Koga, even though, like, the text is all wrong. Like, I think he says it's, like, defense or something, but whatever. So when you get that and you use Swords Dance, it will also give a slight boost to speed, and that can be very, very useful. The thing about Krabby and Kingler, now we have Kingler, Queengler, thank you very much, but the thing about Queengler is that speed is actually not bad, right? So with a couple badge boosts, you know, like, you can pretty reliably outspeed pretty much anything going into the Elite Four. And, you know, again, I'm really under-leveled here, level 33. It's kind of scary. But, you know, eventually I can, you know, just whittle this guy down. You know, one of my favorite things in the world is when Koga has the Wheezing do self-destruct. I always find that to be funny. And now we're surfing on down to Cinnabar. I've been trying to incorporate doing the Pokemon Mansion and doing Blaine's Gym as early as possible, because Blaine's Gym gives you the special badge boost. To my knowledge, you know, again, I haven't looked this up. This is just going on my ancient database in my brain. And just based on, you know, when I play the game, you know, I notice, okay, I think that's how it works. But also, one other thing about Blaine's Gym is you have to answer these quizzes or whatever to skip all these trainers. The first question in the quiz says, Caterpie, does it evolve into Butterfree? That is not true, actually. So if you say no, it says wrong. It does evolve into Butterfree, except that doesn't happen. Metapod evolves into Butterfree. So I boycotted this entire mechanic. It's totally not because I'm a water type and I just want to surf and body slam some easy experience points. That's not the reason at all. It's because I'm boycotting this Orwellian use, this perverse use of a language. I just do not agree with that. So, just throwing that one out there. But we're about, like, halfway through this, not, halfway through the video, but maybe a little bit more than halfway through the run. Of course, these are all recorded in real time, and I believe this run overall, well, I'll save it for the end. But spoiler alert, this run is actually my best run of Pokemon Red and Blue so far. Even though I'm doing this gym, this alternate gym, the 9th gym, that's another one that is in the Cinnabar gym. How many gym badges are there? There's 9 certified badges, yes or no? Well, that's true. There are 9 certified badges, but there are 8 certified badges, but there are 9 gyms. So, just throwing that one out there. But I fight those guys. I'm really trying to desperately level up. And I don't really know when the best spot to use rare candies is. I know, like, for raw experience, if you're optimizing for points and battles, you want to use them as late as possible. But when you're optimizing time, by the way, the rival fight, no big deal. I'm at this point where the level's actually pretty solid. Swords Dance pretty much can accomplish anything, and then Surf can do anything that Body Slam doesn't. But what was I saying? Fuck, I was saying something interesting, and then Giovanni happened. Whatever, I'm fighting Sabrina. Sabrina, not too difficult. I was a little scared of the Alakazam, but again, Body Slam, Swords Dance just goes crazy. Oh, right, I was going into the other gym in Saffron just to train up. So again, one of the beauties of playing in this way is that I don't really know what my skill level at Pokemon Red and Blue even is, because I'm not using the same Pokemon each time, so it kind of obscures my progress. By the way, here's our 8th gym. And at this point, it was really around Cinnabar, where KINGLER just kind of starts steamrolling the game. And I was really scared. Like when I first got the Krabby and it was so underleveled and I was doing this like weird thing, I boxed my starter. I was just really scared that this run was going to cause me some grief. But then I look at the time and I'm making pretty decent time in comparison to my previous runs. Once again, consult the chart. And so, again, it's kind of obscuring my progress because, like, again, a big portion of the run is, like, finding the Pokemon. Another big portion of the run is, like, improving the levels, as fast as possible. When do you want to use the rare candies? That's also what I was saying earlier. Because when you're optimizing for time, it might be better to use the rare candy when you get a level 15 Crabler. It might have been worth it, or Krabby, it might have been worth it to just level that motherfucker up to like 22 as soon as possible, and even though I wouldn't have him later, it's whatever, So I'm not really sure where I am on that question. But either way, I'm also not sure about that rival fight. This game at this point in time, it was totally a cakewalk. It was super fucking easy from this point onward. Even the Elite Four didn't really cause me any trouble. Hey man, whatever. It's been a long day, but what can I say, huh? I'm just trying to live. Anyway, speaking of living, I'm in well, actually, I'm not in the Elite Four. I saw Cloyster. I look away for a second and I see Cloyster. I'm battling a couple of these guys because one of my new strategies is I want to level up on the last Pokemon, like right before the Elite Four. And then just use the rest of my rare candies, like before Lorelei? I don't know. Because leveling up actually resets your badge boosts, and, that can cause a little bit of a concern when you're trying to really take advantage of stuff like speed and that kind of stuff. I don't exactly know how it works, but all I know is when you level up, you get really slow all of a sudden. So, again, I could look up all the formulas if I wanted to, but to me, I'm just kind of playing it with the vibes right now. But Lorelei, not a problem. I would be lying if I said that she was an issue. So now we're on to Bruno. Of course, my special stat with KINGLER is horrendous, so I do have to rely on Surf here. And by the way, I have Double Team. I mentioned earlier that Double Team's really good, but I do also have Double Team. But again, with a couple of badge boosts that you throw into special, and then it's Onyx, come on. So you don't really have to worry about this fight, but I want to make sure that I do have enough. And I should say I did replace Ice Beam with Surf. I did make that decision. because I just felt like Ice Beam doesn't get the stat bonus, and like freezing is probably so rare that whatever, I'd rather use Surf. And plus I had to teach Surf to somebody, and you know, I didn't have the Lapras yet, I don't think, and I boxed my starter. But anyway, we're in Agatha now. Agatha. It's quite a gothic experience, if you ask me. And so, you know, the thing with Agatha is you really need to use your special stat, which in this instance fucking sucks. And then I swap into this Pidgey just to like kind of eat up some terms. But Gengar just refuses to kill the Pidgey, and then I get stuck in this weird area where it's like, I'm just trying to get a free turn in, for Christ's sake, you know what I mean? And then Pidgey took 17 years to kill. I love using the Poke Flute in this fight. I end up using it so much. You know, I'm just trying to set up my double teams, set up my Swords Dances. And again, I like to use a rare candy right before the Lauralee fight, because then that kind of sets up my experience so that I get level ups near the end of the fight. I level up after every Elite Four member. At least it worked out for Kingler. So I don't know if that's universal. I know that they have different level up groups in this game, so I don't know if every level up group would work that way. But I try to limit the levels to leveling up in the middle of battle. I try to limit that as much as possible. And after I was really fighting a yawn there for a second, so just, you know, congrats to me for fighting back. You ever fight against a yawn? You know, that is an uphill battle that is, quite frankly, I don't think it's winnable in most instances. But anyway, speaking of things that aren't winnable, Agatha is not winnable against me because I just steamrolled this motherfucker. And so, really the main thing I had to make sure was I had enough power points for Surf. And just make sure I have enough double teams and Swords Dances that boost everything. Double team is just really good. It's like pretty much any time you start a fight, you're just going to want to use double team first. 1 or 2 double teams and you'll just dodge pretty much anything. And like if you do get hit, like you can just heal up. As long as it's not a one-shot, you're pretty much in good shape. And so, you know, just setting up against that Gyarados, but also the Gyarados does have Hyper Beam. It's a little scary. Dragonairs do have Hyper Beam, and we're not, like, you know, locked into the really good AI here. So, like, you know, they can Hyper Beam me. I do have to be a little concerned about that. And, so Aerodactyl, not, you know, not a one-shot, but enough shots. And that's the thing, like, Double Team is so fucking, it's so ridiculously good. I might have to just do a run with a Pokemon that can't learn Double Team. I didn't really realize how good Double Team was in Gen 1 until, I think it was my Electrode run. But now we're going into the final battle. Kingler has been really solid here. Like, again, it's just that, like, catching a level 15, I don't exactly know how high the levels are that you can catch it, but just catching that level 15 Krabby and then getting it to, like, a good level, that was really frustrating. You know, Erica's gym was posing a lot of concerns. I just got into a massive block, hit a wall, and, but once I broke through that wall, Kingler really, like, came through. You know, again, I never really played these games with a Kingler. Like a Krabby? Are you fucking kidding me? The one you get the fucking fishing rod for? Like, I never would have, like, if you would have went back in time to tell me I'd be playing Pokemon Red with a Kingler main, you know, when I was like 8 years old, I'd be like, huh? Who's that? Oh, that one. Right, so against this Pidgeot, I'm a little concerned for some of these attacks, but also I'm just really trying to set up the Swords Dance, trying to set up the double team. At one point, they mimicked my Swords Dance. I got a little scared. This Alakazam, very terrified of, but one-shotted with Body Slam. I'm feeling really good right now, trying to top off my Swords Dances. I don't even know if it's necessary, but hey, more the merrier, right? And of course we have battle animations here, so we can see that really strange surf animation. Whatever, man. Whatever. Body Slam the Gyarados, didn't one-shot, but hey, whatever. I got double team, it's all good. And level 59, that seems to be the level I'm going to be ending the game with. I was a little scared about my boost, so I wanted to get a double team in just to make sure that my shit's as topped off as I can. Arcanine is fire, so it can't really do too much to you. Kingler does have a pretty high defense stat, so like takedown is really the only thing you have to worry about, and it's not that much of a thing to worry about, though, you know, you can just use a potion. That's one of the things about these runs is, like, I find that as long as you really have enough potions and revives, like, getting a first try Elite Four, at this point, I was really struggling with that earlier on, but at this point, I feel like I can one-shot the Elite Four every time, through the beauty of relying on potions. somehow that wasn't a one-shot. That's just proof that Kingler's special stat really is horrendous, because, man, that really should have been a one-shot. But that's the thing. It's a water-type Pokemon where its best stats are for normal moves. One-shot the Venusaur. Give me a break. And that's the game. That's Kingler, level 59. Pretty good. You're going to be seeing the in-game timer, which is how I do run these with a real timer, but I do keep I do measure the time for the chart. Where's the charts? Can someone get the chart? I do measure the chart time in game time, just because that is, you know, who cares about the seconds? The seconds don't matter. But anyway, yeah, Kingler, really impressed with this run. It was about, what, 40 minutes better than Electrode, which was my best run up until this point. I know these videos are getting a little bit shorter. I don't really know. If you have any editing style recommendations, feel free to let me know. I'm just kind of messing with different editing styles as I go. I like to make sure that the entire run is visible, so I just kind of fast forward it like 10x, 16x. I try to slow it down for the major fights, that kind of stuff. Let me know what you think. But again, really impressed with Kingler. Again, the mid game was pretty scary, actually. But once you got into that part where you're like level 25, level 30, Kingler really decided to just totally destroy this game. And speaking of destroying this game, I'm going to go destroy my game because I never want to play it again. This is the last video I'll ever make. All right, roll credits. Bye.